Hey, it's Jack. In today's video, I'm going to cover how you can cover and handle the spouse objection, spouse slash partner objection as a sales professional. So, for anyone who doesn't know who I am, my name is Jack Middleton, and over the last few years, I've worked as a sales professional for some of the world's leading companies, including 2 years at Google, where I was consistently one of the top reps on the team. And during that time, I've generated over $5 million in revenue. Now, the goal of this channel and the goal of these sales specific videos is really to share the learnings and lessons that I've had, the hard won lessons during that time, so that you can implement them into your sales profession and ultimately make more money. So, without further ado, let's jump into today's video. So, as the title of the video suggests, really, the goal of this specific video is all around spouse slash partner objection. Okay, so there's a few things that I kind of want to say before we dive in. Is that with the spouse one, you can really handle this in the discovery stage of a sales call. Now, how I've kind of successfully used it in the past, and it's evolved over time, is first of all by actually asking them, okay, so just so I understand, just move this chair out of the way. Just so I understand, is there anyone else who's involved in um, this venture or this decision, or is it just yourself? At this stage, they're going to say, "Oh yeah, well I guess my wife or my husband, if you're speaking to a woman, um, or vice versa, whatever partner, business partner, is also involved in this." Be like, okay. And once you've identified that there is a partner, now it's time to torpedo that as a valid reason to delay making a decision. And you do this in a very strategic way. So what I typically do is I say, okay, and again, just for my own understanding, so you're coming in at a neutral position. Just so I understand, is your wife, for example, does she have experience in whatever the business opportunity is or whatever the software is? So let's say you're selling. The last thing I saw was a real estate coaching program. So let's say, yeah, let's say you're selling a multifamily real estate coaching program. Okay, just so I understand, Mr. Prospect, does your wife have experience in acquiring, multi-million dollar multifamily properties? And obviously the answer is going to be no. And what that does is it makes the prospect realize that them going to their spouse or to their partner is a stupid idea. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So that's really all I would do on during discovery. If it comes up again at the end of the call, and sometimes it still does, and typically they'll say, "Look, I know my wife's not experienced, but I still just want to run it by her." There's a process to cover that as well. Okay, but that's really the first step is handle it in discovery. Go through those questions to really, debunk it as a potential objection at the end. Now, at the end of the call, once you've gone through discovery, you've gone through the pitch, it may still come up again where they just want to, they just want to speak to their wife. And, at this stage, you diffuse it, you'd be like, that's not a problem. Okay. So at the end of the call, step one is always diffuse the objection, because this time it's actually an objection. Earlier in the call, you obviously try and flush it out, but this time they're pulling it up as an objection. So step one, diffuse. That's not a problem, Mr. Prospect. At this point, then, I would then just clarify. Okay, I'd be like, okay, so I love saying just so I understand, because you're playing dumb this whole time. You know full well what's happening, but okay, Mr. Prospect, just so I understand, because obviously we've clarified earlier in the call that your wife isn't an expert in acquiring multi-million-dollar deal multifamily properties. So is it just a case that you want to run the investment piece by her as a sign of respect, or what's going on? Just have the conversation. And typically they say, yeah, look, it's just yeah, it's just one of these things where I just need to run the investment piece by her. He'd be like, that's no worries at all. And at this stage, then, really what I would do is, because at this stage you've identified that the reason that they want to go speak to their spouse. Well, actually, come to think of it, I would just tie that down and be like, okay, so if your wife was on the call right now and she gave you the green light for the investment piece, you're 100% in. They'd be like, yeah, okay. So you've tied them down on the fact that aside from the wife giving the green light on the investment piece, they're all in. Okay. Now, once you've done that, what I would do is really see if they're open to a perspective. Be like, okay, Mr. Prospect, do you mind if I share a perspective with you? And then typically they'll be like, yeah, sure. Okay, so given the fact, actually at this stage, well, there's a few ways that you could do it. The way that I would do it is be like, okay, Mr. Prospect, here's what we're gonna do. So this is really like a leadership frame close, and that's really the frame and the the way you want to come to your calls anyway. Like a doctor, once you've diagnosed the situation, you've understood why they want to delay it. You'd be like, okay, Mr. Prospect, here's what we're gonna do. It's one thing to go and tell your wife everything we've discussed today. All the details, all the discussion we've had about how important it is for you to achieve XYZ for you and your family. The fact you've been trying to do it yourself for X number of years and haven't managed to do it. Bring up different things they've told you in discovery as ammunition. And then be like, but look, the reality is that things are going to be lost in translation, right? We've been on the phone for 40 minutes by now, and it's going to be hard to communicate everything that we spoke about today. So, like I said, it's one thing to go and tell your wife, but it's another thing to show her what all of this is about. So what I propose that we do, if you're willing to move forward today, we would be willing to get you on board for a soft deposit. So let's say, $500 down today. Come in, do the onboarding call with, the coach or whoever it is. Join the group call on Tuesday, join it on Thursday. Really get a feel for what this is all about, and bring your wife to those calls. And if after going through that full process, after 7 days, you're not 100% certain that this is the right move for you and your wife and your family, we'll just refund you in full. Now, if after those 7 days, it just validates that this is the right move, everything we've discussed today, then we would just settle the rest of the payment there. How does that sound? At this point, then typically they would say, okay, let's do it. Take the credit card, go for the close. Um, but what can sometimes happen still is you're like, no, look, I still want to go run it by my wife, blah blah blah. At this point, then I'd be like, look, diffuse again. That's no worries at all. Look, we're not in the business of ruining marriages. Now, are you open to just one final perspective around that? Sure. Okay. So at this point, I'd be like, okay, look, Mr. Prospect. Um, have you ever heard of the terminology "heavy is the head that wears the crown"? Yeah. So most people think that that terminology refers to, the crown is heavy because it's full of jewels and precious metals, etc., etc. But really, what it refers to is the weight of responsibility. Now, earlier in the call, we clarified that your wife is not an expert in multifamily. And given how important it is that you achieve these goals in the next few years for her and your family, do you feel it's fair to put that decision on her? No, no, I don't. How come you don't? Okay, and you're getting them to sell themselves on why it's a stupid idea to go and speak to their wife. Okay, so once they've been through that process, um, then it's really a case of handling fear. Okay, man. Look, so really, sounds like maybe would it be fair to say there's a little bit of uncertainty there? I've got a completely separate video on fear. Well, that's really what it comes down to at this stage. If they're still not pulling the trigger, but if you go through this process, in summary, pre-handling it in discovery, handling it at the end by, you know, uh, going through that framework that I've just mentioned, and really just doing the show versus tell analogy. It's very powerful. Um, I'd bring them through that, and if still they're not budging, use the responsibility frame, and if by that stage they're still not closing, then it's really going to come down to getting them over that fear. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. As always, if you found it valuable or helpful, I'd appreciate if you can drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment below, and yeah, um, I've also got the school challenge, which is completely free. It's a 10-day challenge to come in and improve your skills as a sales professional. So I'll drop that link below, and yeah, that's all for this one. So I'll see you in the next one.